What does it mean when you're a sovereign?
Well, a sovereign, the context within which most people use it is to refer to themselves as being outside of the jurisdiction and control of government. That's how most people use the word sovereign.
What about the idea of being foreigners, though, in this land? Like, is that part of the problem, or why people become sovereign?
Well, man created borders. The creator created the planet, and then man decided he was going to carve it up with all these imaginary lines, which they call borders.
It wasn't all men. It was a handful of men did this and got a bunch of guys to work for them. Sorry, Mark. I just got to say, because I hate this collective guilt crap.
Yeah. Now, when I last spoke to you on film, the videos you uploaded resulted in me getting a lot of email from people I never met before, and I got ragged on for I misspoke and made a couple inaccurate statements. Now, it's true that the birth registry did begin before 1933. However, 1933 is when they started monetizing us and pledging us as collateral for the debt. Now, to register, the word register means to abandon. Yeah. And when you register a car or a birth or a house, you're giving it to the government. You're giving your legal title to the government, and you only retain equitable title, which means that you have the use of that property. The government allows you to use it, thinking that you own it. Clear evidence of this is anyone who owns a house, look at their mortgage, and you're referred to as the tenant. Not the owner, the tenant. So if you think you own your house, you're mistaken. Same with your car. The reason why they can impound your car is because you registered it, and under maritime admiralty salvage laws, they come along and they adopt it. In the case of the birth registry, they adopt the abandoned child. Now, when you apply for something, apply means to beg. So many people have come up to me and said, how do I apply for my freeman status? Well, you don't ask your controllers to make you free. You learn that you are free, and you just learn how to. You got to spend a lot of time finding stuff out, because everything you're going to learn is going to conflict with everything you already knew.
One of the questions that's come up, if you have any info on when you said that the Canada could be the 13th district of the Federal Reserve.
Canada is the 13th Federal Reserve District. Yes, it is.
Would you classify the Bank of Canada as equal to one of the 12 Federal Reserve District banks? Like, would Mark Carney be the same as like the head of the New York Federal Reserve District?
Well, I know that all currency is loaned into existence. And in Canada, we have the ability to have it loaned to us by our own Bank of Canada. And that's not being done. And as a result, our government, when it needs money, rather than just printing it up and using it, they turn around and borrow it from private banks, which are owned.
I can also add that we have to realize, what does owned mean? The ownership situation is achieved through treaties, through contracts. And we say that we have a Bank of Canada that's publicly owned and that prints money for us, and that should print all of our money, but is printing less and less as we borrow from foreign banks to put us more in debt and under their control.
Another thing that came up was somebody was wondering about the CUSIP number was on the documents.
Some people pronounce it CUSIP, CUSIP. If you're a stock trader, you'll call it CUSIP. If you're just an ignorant guy like me, you'll pronounce it the way it looks. But yeah, all securities require a CUSIP, and that's the number that doesn't seem to be related to anything. It's different from the registration number. It's not made up of birth dates or anything. And it doesn't have to start with an A. A lot of them start with B's. Mine happens to start with an A, but all securities require a CUSIP number. The birth certificate is like a bond, a stock. It's created 7 days after you're born, too. You look at my statement of birth, and I look at the registration date on my birth certificate, and there's a 7-day lapse there. Why the 7-day lapse? You know, because it's counterfeit. That's why. It's because it's counterfeit.
The comment about this CUSIP number, though, the guy was something alarmed that there was only 8 digits. He expected a 9-digit.
Oh, well, someone's trying to search the bond registry to find the value of their their security so that they can cash it in and get all the millions of dollars. Yeah.
Can
So
that be done? Can you actually find yourself on this in this registry?
I don't know. I'm sure you must be able to. I doubt that it's like with the way that only real estate agents can access the TREB records and get certain information about properties. Perhaps only people who trade in securities have access or the ability to access that information. Of course, it's there. I doubt that anyone from the public could access it
Now
like
keep
that.
in mind, though, that it's just not normal for us to question this stuff.
One of these conspiracies that I was thinking about is if this is getting big worldwide and all these people aren't a citizen of the country they're in, or they're a sovereign person, do you think that this could eventually lead to dissolving of the borders and like having like a one world government?
I do. I have recently seen some stuff that leads me to believe that yes, the Freeman movement is also being hijacked in a way to, as with anything, in order to sell a lie, you got to mix it in with a lot of truth. I've concluded that this vast amount of alternative information that's just being we're being bombarded with it. And I've come to this conclusion, Daniel. The New World Order doesn't care if we know 9/11 was an inside job. They don't care if we know that we're under chemical attack with the chemtrails. They don't care if we know there's fluoride in the water and that there's aspartame poisoning us. They draw the line at one thing. There's only one thing they don't want us to know about. And that's this dude who lived 2,000 years ago. We can know about everything else, but not that dude. Now, it's obvious that there's a huge effort being put forth to prevent us from knowing about that dude. So you got to ask yourself, why?